Warm welcome to Horse Talk, where we are going to talk about three common mistakes that is making horse riding unsafe. And these common mistakes, I see them again and again and again. And I have even done quite a few of them myself. So, if you want to stay safe and have fun with your horse, make sure to tune in and get these three tips that is going to save you a lot of time and maybe also even money and frustrations. And it's also, above all, going to keep you a whole lot more safer than what we are right now, because after all, horse riding has now been considered the most dangerous sport. And I don't think it's because horses are particularly dangerous. They are the most peaceful and kind animals on this planet. So it could be that we as humans have a tendency to, get things wrong. And I'll just dive right into it and start with the first one, which is also something I have heard other trainers say, that when it comes to horse riding, we can either start with excellence and end with the boring stuff, or we can start with the boring stuff and end with excellence. And what this means is that, like, if you have purchased a horse or something, and you obviously bought the horse for going horseback riding. You bring the horse home and you go horseback riding. That is, in a way, starting with excellence. And it's also a sure way to increase the risks of stuff going wrong, because you haven't done the boring stuff. You haven't done the groundwork with this horse and connected with this horse on the ground. And you maybe don't even know what the horse knows and what the horse doesn't know. So, buying a horse, hopping on and going out for a ride, it can end well, but it can also end in a total disaster, because the horse you tried was calm and nice to ride and quiet, home at the breeders where the horse maybe have been his whole life, or the horse has been trained for the last few months. And now you're bringing your horse to a new environment, and you start off with, riding off. And that's not the best way to start. Start with the boring stuff and make sure your horse knows the basics so that you are able to stay safe, both on the ground and when riding. Hello, Tommy. So nice to see you from Woodinville, USA. Hi from Norway. Yes, and the second thing I also want to emphasize is something that, you know, tends to happen, and something I've done as well, is not taking the time it takes when small things pop up. So it might be just a tiny little thing like the horse not leading properly, or the horse not wanting to stand still while mounted, or just something small. But then instead of taking the time it takes and actually fixing it and making our ID the horse's ID, it's so easy to just, hold the horse still while we mount, instead of making sure the horse is comfortable when we mount and therefore standing still. It's very easy to take shortcuts here and to what's it called, shovel or swipe stuff underneath the rug. And this is a recipe for disaster, because all the big problems that we experience, like the horse rearing up and falling backwards, or bucking, or bolting, or kicking, or biting, all these things happen in small versions first. Tiny little versions that is so much easier to fix than trying to solve the big version. So If your horse is a bit pushy and nippy, do something about it now before your horse suddenly runs you down or bites you or kicks you in the face. It's much easier to solve a horse who's a little bit nippy and a little bit pushy than it is to solve a horse who has started biting and kicking people. And the same with anxiety or bucking, for instance. Like, it's much easier to solve a horse, switching the tail and lifting the back and showing some signs of not being comfortable than trying to ride rodeo. Yep. And also with anxiety, it's much easier to, empty the worry cup before it overflows than trying to handle a horse with a worry cup overflowing. And I think as more we spend time with horses and the more we ride and the more we train horses, especially if we try to take some moments and just observe the horse without any judgment, just observe, the more we are going to be able to pick up these small signs of small problems that is very easy to nip in the bud instead of doing the full-blown version of them. Yes, and then be surprised. Which leads me to the third thing, which I think is very, very common mistake that I myself was the kind of victim of, and that is not having the tools to fix things. And I was a victim of this mistake after going on college, learning how to become a horse trainer, and also after doing riding instructor level 1 and level 2. I still didn't have the tools to fix things because obviously we learned how to ride, but we didn't learn the tools that I know have to solve problems. Those didn't exist, at least not when I was going to riding school. It was all about riding and making the horses do stuff and being clever and being quick and have a good seat while riding and having good aids, all that kind of stuff. But we didn't really have any tools. And these tools are so basic and so easy, and it's unbelievably easy to teach these horses these tools. But it's not commonly done, neither when horses are trained, nor when people are trained to teach other riders. And this is basically, making the horse soft and responsive towards one rein and then the other, and also make sure that the horse is able to find its own stop by becoming soft in the body and crossing over behind. Versus trying to stop the horse with two reins, or solving things with the regular riding exercises like the halt and the backup and all that stuff that we are practicing a lot, which is all good, but those things are not going to save you in a situation, and it's also not going to empty worry in the horse. If a horse is building up a little bit of anxiety and we stop the horse with two reins, okay, the horse might stop, but the anxiety is still there. But by teaching the horse to find its own stop, by softening the body and crossing over behind, we both get to stop the horse and we also empty worry. And again, by practicing this pattern, we are also eventually going to connect our rein aid to the hind legs of the horse, which makes it easy to stop even though we don't have the possibility to do a bend to stop, and even though the horse is at higher speed. But if we don't practice those patterns and we haven't installed this in the horse, then we can pull on the reins as much as we want, but the horse is still going to be able to go against two reins. So if you want to learn how to get started with this, we actually have a blog that you can get access to that also has a video showing how you can get started with the bend to stop. So if you want to check it out, you can see it on ridelikeaviking.com/blog, or you can comment yes below and I will send you the link to that particular blog on DM so that you stay safe while riding this Easter. It just takes a couple of minutes extra with a tiny little bit of groundwork and a tiny little bit of preparation before you head off on the trails to stay a whole lot safer. And thank you so much for joining this evening, and happy Easter to you, and see you next time. Okay, bye for now.